this was the paper from the week of the 27th to the 2nd of September of the end of August. And we're going to hone in on actually the cover story for this edition from this week, which was, we can also show the centerfold as well. People can take a look at that, and of course these articles are online in addition to being in print at HaitiLiberté.com. So the cover story, as people can see, some may recognize this pretty infamous figure here, and some may know him from his time in other circumstances, perhaps in Iraq. But the cover story is how Erik Prince wants to turn Haiti into a center for mercenaries. And this is by Travis Ross as well,
yes,
from the Haiti-Canada Information Project. That's
correct.
Yeah.
Canada-Haiti International.
Canada-Haiti Information. So
Chip.
I'm gonna kick it off with my first question for those who may be like me a little bit younger. Who is Erik Prince? I mean, why should people recognize this face, and a face of infamy? And can you talk a little bit about? You can talk about, of course, his role in Iraq as well, but kind of why he is the central figure in this week's story.
Right. Erik Prince, as I think most of the telespectateurs, as they say in Creole, the telespectators, will know, is a rich kid who became a businessman specializing in mercenaries. He was a Navy SEAL, and his sister, Betsy DeVos, was the education secretary of the first Trump administration. So they're a very right-wing family, and he has just almost comic book reactionary viewpoint. And as we outline in this week's issue, he sees Haiti, as he sees Africa and Latin America generally, as incapable of governing themselves. These people are just too corrupt. They're too childlike. I mean, he's really going back to Teddy Roosevelt and the Manifest Destiny period of just absolutely racist, backward, stupid colonial thinking that only he and the U.S. and the, I mean, by extension, the imperialist world have the know-how, have the capacity to govern these countries, because they cannot govern themselves. So he has established a new outfit. His original one, as most of the listeners I'm sure will know, was Blackwater, which came to infamy in Iraq, especially after the Nasser Square massacre, but there were many. That was just the only one that was really captured on film, but there were dozens of other Blackwater crimes committed, and he sees Haiti really, as our title says this week, as having the possibility to be a hub for mercenaries, for military contractors. And this is because the country really has seen its central government debilitated by neoliberal reforms over the past 30 years, beginning in 1990 with the election of Jean-Bertrand Aristide, which was really the first in recent times malfunction in U.S. election engineering in the Western Hemisphere. In most countries, elections were won the same way they're won here. The candidate with the most money wins. In the U.S. would pump in money to whoever their candidate was in Latin America, and lo and behold, they would win the election. But it didn't happen like that in 1990 in Haiti. Revolutionary at that time neo-liberation theologian priest named Jean-Bertrand Aristide won the election against the World Bank economist, U.S. candidate or candidate backed by the U.S. called Marc Bazin. And in a field of 11, Aristide had 67% of the vote when they stopped counting. They didn't want it to become even more embarrassing. So at that point, the U.S. went into overdrive, dismantling the U.S. state, the Haitian state. And the result is what we see today, where you have very little state control. That state that does exist is completely corrupt. People are just lining their pockets, getting together the bribes and corruption they can gather to go buy their condo in Coral Gables when their stint in government is over. And as a result, the people have been sinking deeper and deeper into poverty and misery. And that has brought the growth of a new state, and those are basically neighborhood committees. Armed neighborhood committees in the neighborhoods of Haiti have become the state. And some of these groups, as is true with all of imperialism's victims, or some of imperialism's victims, turn to crime, robbery, or in some cases kidnapping. An example which was set by the United States for Haiti in 2004 when they kidnapped President Jean-Bertrand Aristide. And I mean, interestingly, the imperialists always do provide the first example. The first case of hijacking was done by the French of an Algerian resistance leader. And after that, the people started to use hijacking. Same thing in Haiti. They carried out a kidnapping of the president, and the people said, oh, so kidnapping's on the table, and that's when you saw kidnapping really explode. In any case, the neighborhood committees who did turn to that type of criminal enterprise were confronted by anti-crime groups.
Such as Vivant Ensemble.
Well, Vivant Ensemble, actually, we'll get to that in the intro, but it really, the initial anti-crime coalition was a thing called the G9, founded in May of 2020 by Jimmy Cherizier, known as Barbecue, former cop, a stellar cop, anti-crime, anti-gang fighting cop. And he said, we have to start to get, but he had an innate class consciousness. He was from the proletariat of Haiti. He grew up in the streets, in the gutter, I could say, of Haiti. And he saw the need to bring together all the members of the class that he grew up in, the people he grew up with, and to stop the crime from happening in his neighborhood, which it was beginning to infest. So he drove out the criminal gang that was in his neighborhood, the 117 gang, and set up this coalition of groups called the G9. And the bourgeoisie, which used these armed groups, the criminal gangs, as you know,
foot soldiers, sort of.
Foot soldiers of sorts to either get their candidate elected or to you know, guard their factory or their warehouse or their land, or settle their scores with rival bourgeois. So eventually, what happened was they formed, in the face of G9, another coalition called the JPEP. And for 4 years, from the fall of 2020, 21, until 2024, those two gangs fought very bitterly, you know, very difficult battles, because the government and the bourgeoisie would use the JPEP to fight the G9, which was very quickly having a revolutionary program, saying we have to take power. Finally, the U.S. puppet prime minister that the U.S. had put in after they assassinated or participated in some way in the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse on July 7th, 2021. Ariel Henry became so reviled, so unpopular, that the two groups joined together, and this was always Cherizier's goal, was he said to them, listen, the U.S. is getting Ariel Henry to go to Kenya to bring in mercenaries, and they're coming to kill me, but as soon as they get me, they're going to come after you. So you have more interest to ally with me than to ally with the bourgeoisie, the U.S., and the Haitian government. And those groups saw the justice of this argument, and they did join with him, and they drove out Ariel Henry. And that was on February 29th, 2024, exactly for 20 years after Jean-Bertrand Aristide had been overthrown in a US-backed coup d'etat. So it took 20 years, but the people finally responded to the US with their own removal of a totally unelected, illegitimate, and reviled prime minister. And they joined together in what is the Vivre Ensemble. So Vivre Ensemble is really the beginning of the, I could say, marriage of the G9 and the JPEP into a force which is politically motivated at taking power. And they form themselves into a political party. Okay, so getting back to the original question, the U.S. has really, since the beginning, and they flagged Jimmy Cherizier as the problem early on, even before we here at Haiti Liberté understood it, because we, in the beginning, were also saying, oh, Jimmy Cherizier, he's a criminal, he's a gangster, he's a blah, 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 blah. You know, we were lazy, basically. But thankfully, our director, my director here at Haiti Liberté, Bertani Dupont, sat me down one day and said, you know, Kim, I think we have it all wrong about Jimmy Cherizier, because I've been watching his videos and his statements, and I think we need to go down and see if he's real. And so I was sent to Haiti in April of 2021 and met with him and came back to Bethany and said, you are right, this guy is real, he is good, and we need to work with him to advance the people's demands and struggle in Haiti.
And Vivre Ensemble would come later.
Later.
Course, but
at that point, he was the GPEP. He was the G9. Right. So these groups, both the G9 and the GPEP, were all called gangs, but it was aimed mostly at Cherizier, and he was the one who was being targeted and vilified the most as the biggest, baddest leader, which was untrue, because he's really the poorest of the gangs, because he doesn't participate in criminal activities. He didn't have thousands of dollars from doing crimes like kidnapping, where sometimes the ransoms were very high. But they saw he was the danger. And so anyway, gangs has become the term that they deploy. And it's a catch-all, and it just means these are just total criminal ne'er-do-wells, delinquents, drug addicts, monsters. They're just portrayed as animals. And this is what they are trying to do with the gangs. And just this week, since the paper came out, Panama and the U.S. have put out a new call for a group called the Force for the Suppression of Gangs, the FSG, because the former force they did after Ariel Henry requested, and the puppet government they put in afterwards, nine-headed presidential government, put in a thing headed by Kenya called the MSS, the Multinational Security Support Mission, MSS. But it's been completely uh, useless. It has done very little. It's had about 3 or 4 of its soldiers, the Kenyans, killed, and they're going nowhere. They were trying to have 2,500 Kenyans. They have less than 1,000, and nobody wants to really take part. There's some Guatemalans and Salvadorians, a few Bahamians and Jamaicans in the mix, but it's mostly Kenyans. And the U.S. can see that this is not going to work, and it's supported. It's not a UN-backed. It's not a UN force, but it's been blessed by the UN. The U.S. thought that would be enough to make it work. So they're putting together this new force called the FSG, Force for the Suppression of Gangs. Gangs, they got to make sure that word's in there. And the difference, the big difference, is that this force will be autonomous from the Haitian National Police. They don't have to work in concert. They don't have to get clearance from the government. Basically, it's a way to put in a mercenary force that will do the bidding of whoever is running it, and they haven't decided who's going to be the leadership of it, but it's not going to be Haitian. It's going to be Panamanian, or it probably won't be American because they'll hide behind some proxy. Okay, so this is sort of where things are developing, but for the moment, Erik Prince is the mercenary kingpin in Haiti for the U.S. Now, we don't know, even though we suspect, that he has gotten a wink and a nod and some sort of tacit backing from Washington. They don't officially recognize him, and he doesn't go about saying, I have clearance publicly, but we know that in this article this week by Travis Ross, who is one of our most important investigative journalists at Haiti Liberté, that he boasts of having U.S. backing, and this is what he told a Haitian American security company owner, a guy called Rod Joseph in Florida, has an outfit based out of Orlando. And he said, oh, yes, I have the Pentagon is with me, and they're totally behind me. Now, Rod Joseph said he called the Pentagon. He'd been a soldier. He's a veteran, U.S. Army veteran. And the Pentagon said, no, we don't have them. Now, that doesn't mean they didn't do it through some back channel under the table way, but as far as we know, they have a 10-year contract. At one point, Rod Joseph told us 20 years, but they have a 10-year contract to provide support to the Haitian government with 200 mercenaries. I don't know what 200 mercenaries are going to do against thousands of armed neighborhood committee soldiers. And, you know, maybe they think they're the Texas Rangers, or that they're going to...
Well, I have a question about that, though.
Yeah, okay, we'll go back to that. Yeah, but this is not the 19th century U.S. where you have Gatling guns against bows and arrows. This is a very different reality. And so I don't know if they're starting to eat their own lies and hype, but somehow they think they can push back the gangs, quote-unquote gangs, so-called gangs. So Erik Prince has that, but he's also providing security to Haiti's ports. And this is important to realize, that when the U.S. Marines first invaded Haiti in 1915, that was the first thing they did. They took over the customs. They said, we're going to get all the, because that's where the money is to be made in Haiti, is importing manufactured goods, you know, televisions, computers, refrigerators, whatever it is, cars, into Haiti, and you pay a tax, and then exporting whatever Haiti produces. Nowadays, it's a shadow of what it once was, but it was assembly industries producing electronics and underwear and clothing for the U.S. market primarily, and it used to have a lot of agricultural exporting, coffee, sugar, cacao, vetiver. People can watch the first film I did in 1983 called Bitter Cane, which explains about the political economy of Haiti back then. But the agricultural side has really been dismantled. It's mostly assembly industries now. There are 3 assembly cheap labor parks, one in Port-au-Prince, one in an area called Wanamint, or on the border with the town of Dahabon, on the Dominican-Haitian border in the north. And then a third one, which was set up after the earthquake, halfway from Dahabon along the coast towards Haiti, towards Cape Haitian, called Caracol. So in these 3 assembly industry parks, they produce a lot of, or would like to produce a lot of items, but